the backpack he was wearing?
What, was it like a jet backpack?
It was like this. I think it was a backpack, but there was fire coming out like 6 or 7 different directions out of his back. But yeah, they definitely look like that cock. You gotta go see him.
Do you know that pissed me off? Because when they announced it and there was all this shit around him, like, oh, he's going to be cancelled, he's not going to be cancelled. It was kind of one of those
what
things.
Was he in trouble for?
I can't remember because I didn't put much fit. Do you know what? I didn't click into it much because it just.
Yeah, go on, keep going.
It's not that it didn't seem believable, but you know, at the same time, it was like the fucking internet was so flooded at the same time. But I was afraid that if we got tickets, that they'd be cancelled and that'd be this summer.
Political reviews. We won't click on that. Concert misconduct allegations. In May 2023, a woman claimed that her drink was spiked during a Rammstein concert in Lithuania and was selected for an after-show party, during which she was ushered into a small room underneath the stage for lead singer Till Lindemann. After making herself unavailable for sex, she claimed Lindemann reacted angrily and left. While emphasising that she was never assaulted, she believed it to be an organised system of funneling girls. Although Vilnius prosecutors found no evidence of drugging, her story amplified the band's Row Zero practice, where young women would be pre-selected on social media by casting director Elena Mikiva to stand in an executive area closest to the stage dubbed Row Zero and attend the pre-show and after-show parties, during which Lindemann would request to have sex with fans in attendance. Further claims against Lindemann prompted an investigation by German police for sexual offences and distribution of narcotics. In response, the band denied all claims of illegal behaviour, fired Mikova, and halted the Row Zero after parties. So the Row Zero thing was true.
Okay.
Well, they had these parties, but it's kind of, I don't mean to sound bad, but no, if he did something bad, he did something bad. But the whole after party, before party, and having hot girls around, that's kind of what being a rock star has been since the inception of rock and roll.
Well, my problem with it, is in why aren't we dragging up people that have gone 70s and 80s that were shagging 14-year-olds
well, they haven't. They're dead, and there's not much you can do with it.
I know, but how come there's no spotlight being shone there?
Let's see where this went. In views of the allegation, Rammstein's label Universal announced that it will be suspending all promotional activities for Rammstein's albums, even though it must have been cleared up because they're on tour. Universal also confirmed the press report that it confidently requested the German Music Industry Association BVMI not to include the 25th anniversary release of Shinshut, is that it? Is that right? Shinshut? In the official album charts, regardless of its actual sale figures, and that the requests had been authorised by the band itself. Various other companies, including Kippenhauer and Witz and Rossmann, also halted joint ventures with the band. On August 29th, the German prosecutors announced that they dropped the case, saying the investigation did not unearth any evidence of a crime. The investigations were originally taken up because of complaints filed by unaffected third party who were unable to identify any victim. While alleged victims sent sworn statements to journalists, none of those women filed a criminal complaint, and therefore the police were unable to contact and interview them. Also, the journalists had promised the alleged victims anonymity and made use of their legal right to keep their source secret. Now, to me, that sounds, and again, not victim. I usually side with the victim, to be fair. Yeah. But in this case, this sounds like a third party came forward to threaten him. Nobody else came forward, and then I think that some journalists jumped on the bandwagon to get fucking the early scoop. That's what I think. I think this is, because we've seen it. I know some people have been able to come back from being
which is mind-blowing.
But maybe milder infractions. I mean, what's your man, Louis C.K. never really sexually assaulted anybody. He was just disgusting in front of people.
Did he not masturbate in front
of them? But he always told them they had the freedom to leave the room if they wanted to.
So why didn't they? Oh, he stood up in front of the door, though, did he not? Was there something not about him?
I don't know. It's something weird, but it wasn't. He never physically did anything to anybody, and so he's kind of started to get a little pass back into the system. And there's been others that are getting kind of, left back in. I don't think he'll ever be back in.
Did I not see something?
He does lecture tours. He goes around doing speeches and stuff like that. But I don't think any movie to cast him is going to make much money.
Oh, Spacey portrays charismatic stranger Peter who shows up out of the blue. Yeah, Kevin Spacey, comeback director, says only small minority in Hollywood think actor should quit. There's a comeback movie. He's in a movie.
I suppose everybody still watches Roman Polanski movies and still goes to Woody. Not Woody Harrelson. He's a good guy. Woody Allen.
Woody Harrelson is a legend. Sweetheart.
Even though Woody Harrelson's supposed to be awful for the conspiracy theories,
which makes him even more endearing.
Like, he's the kind of guy who come here, he just want to spark up and talk fucking shit for the absolute.
I reckon he'd be super excited. I can imagine him like a spark with conspiracy theories.
If we could get him, fucking, that would be awesome. I'd love
to
talk to Woody Harrelson.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose we better crack on. We got what are we first? We're going to try this again. We tried this last night and it all went to shit. 20 minutes in and we realised that we weren't. Your mic was fucked.
Always my mic.
Yeah, I know. 1 second. It's all looking good. Okay. We're good. Okay. So we did Rewind this week, Mini Monsters Rewind, and we did the Russian sleep experiment, which was our 3rd episode ever.
Yep.
And that was back when we were doing things as creepypastas. We thought we were going to be able to find. Oh yeah, we thought we were going to have to find loads and loads of great creepypastas like this to scare people with every day and tell this little campfire kind of story every day. And then we realised they're all fucking cheesy.
Do you know, my problem was with a few of them as well, like especially with ones like of like Irish ghost stories. I'd be going along and I'd be reading about like the Banshee or something and like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool, this could be cool. Banshees don't do that. Where is she going with this? You know, I'd be like, this is not true.
But essentially, your other option would have been to read like fan fiction kind of creepypastas, and they all just got cheesy or sexual, or else you'd have to like put on character voices to make it work.
Yeah, which is fine if you have a group of people.
And just so you people know, mostly Mini Monsters is just it's there to kind of promote us as well and help promote us. So I mean, the idea was let's do something that people want to hear. Let's do something. Yeah. Now this was interesting. This was fun, and we'll get into that. But that's why we did kind of fall into cryptids and paranormal and true crime and all that kind of sort of stuff, because they're interesting and they might be real and they might be true and there might be nuggets of truth in it. And if they're not, why did they happen? What, trying to find or resolve the mystery. Not unresolve the mystery, it's already unresolved. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it.
Some of them are just going to stay unresolved.
The Russian sleep experiment you thought was a real thing.
I did think it was a real thing because I was how many weeks after having our kid, and I was sleep deprived and it was early in the morning and I was feeding him and I read through the story and I saw the fucking picture that goes with it. And I looked at you and you were turned over and you were asleep and you were facing the wall, and the last thing I wanted you to do was to wake up or even turn to face me after I read the story, in case you look like that. It was just really creepy. And then I went to the bathroom afterwards and I didn't want to open the bathroom door afterwards.
And I wouldn't mind, you mentioned it to me at the time, but I remember it was constantly showing up on Facebook. It was that black and white kind of,
it looks like they're in a street,
ghastly fucking faces and stuff like that. But yeah, I passed it once, so I think when you mentioned it to me, I clicked into it. So I found a Wikipedia page for it. It's the Russian sleep experiment. There's a creepypasta which tells the tale of 5 test subjects being exposed to an experimental sleep inhabiting stimulant in the Soviet-era scientific experiment. That has become a basis of an urban legend. Jesus, that felt like I swallowed a fly. I didn't though. I hope not. Many news organisations, including snoopsnews.com.au and Live About, trace the story's origins to a website now known as Creepypasta Wiki, being posted on August 10, 2010 by a user named Orange Soda, whose real name is unknown. I know his name. Who loves orange soda? Hey, love. It's interesting. Actually, now looking at it, I might be able to use this week.
Ooh.
I need to do some experiments on apes this week. For part 2 of the simulator. People here now, so we have part 1 out, where we're going for part 2. And it's going to get conspiracy crazy.
Yep.
And
can't wait.
Any people, it's all 100% fake. Anyone that it might be like is completely coincidental.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that's all this really was, and this is what we were hoping to originally do.
Yeah, it didn't work out. No.
Because we found more interesting stuff to do, like answering the question of who put Bella in the witch elm.
Down the witch elm.
Down the Wych Elm. Well, the Wikipedia page is in the Wych Elm.
Some people say some of the graffiti was down the Wych Elm and more of the graffiti was in the Wych Elm. So, yeah, that was a skeleton found, obviously, stuffed down a Wych Elm tree in 1943 by 4 boys. And they were out playing and they decided, maybe we shouldn't tell anybody that we found this because we'll get in trouble for doing what we were doing. And one of them got really guilty and he went and he told people. So they went to the Wych Elm.
That one was named Stephen King. He wrote a book about it called Stand By Me. Great movie.
And so they found hair and still on the skeleton and all that. And then a year later, in 1944, all this graffiti started popping up around the place. Who put Bella in the Wych Elm, down the Wych Elm?
Do they have DNA evidence from that hair, no?
No, because they don't know where the remains are anymore. They've lost them.
How?
This is quite common. It's quite common, especially...
I know, I read it in fucking... When we were doing the simian flu first episode, we talked about Enos, the chimp that went to fucking space.
Mm.
And his body was transferred to the Smithsonian and got lost in the Smithsonian somewhere and they don't know where it is.
Well,
how do you keep losing bodies?
One of my things is one of these now. Okay, so
it's
the
called
theory,
evidence.
There's the theory that this woman was a spy, but the spy that they thought she was proven that to have died in the 1940s in Berlin, so it couldn't have been her. But my thing is the autopsy report has gone missing with the skeleton, with the remains. So is it that it was a spy and somebody's trying to like hush
cover it up?
Like the autopsy reports go missing as well?
I prefer because we can admit I know this story a bit because we covered this much last night before we realised the microphones were fucked. And I think that guy who was having the nightmares and ended up in the mental institution before the body was found is most likely the perpetrator behind this. Tell his story and what he did.
Jack Mossop. So in 1953, his wife, Una Mossop, said that her ex-husband, Jack, had confessed to family members that himself and a Dutchman called Van Ralt put a woman down a tree. So Mossop and Van Ralt had met for a drink at the Littleton Arms. And later that night, Mossop said the woman became drunk and passed out while they were driving. So then the men put her down the hollow tree in the hope that in the next morning she woke up and she would obviously see the error of her ways. Eventually, he was confined to a Stafford mental hospital because he had recurring dreams of a woman staring out at him from a tree. And he died in the hospital before the body in the Wych Elm was found.
So he was having...
Like, why...
It would make sense if he was having... But I mean, like we were saying, like the big problem here is that the wife didn't come forward for 10 years after his death. That's the big problem
everybody has with it. But like we said at the time,
information straight away.
But what's it going to do to your reputation?
Is there mental institution records that might state what he was in there for?
Yeah,
so to prove that he was having these nightmares.
He was constantly having these nightmares of a woman staring.
Sounds like the most logical because you were saying as well that a prostitute went missing.
Yeah, and her name was Bella, and this is where the name Bella comes from. Yeah. So
is there a chance that they're the same person that this, or is the timeline off?
So
could she be the drunk woman?
Yes, it was Bella.
Especially if it was to see the error of her ways. Maybe they talked to her and they were like, well, we'll teach this hooker a fucking lesson.
Bella is in the prostitute that was reported going missing, died 3 years prior to have been reported missing. So that puts her about 1941. Jack Mossop, I'm not too sure when that would have... Oh, yeah, more than 10 years after Jack Mossop's death. So you're looking at least 11 years. From 1953. So it would be the same as one or the other. Yeah.
That's interesting. And they have no idea. They have no leads on it. Which one do they lean most into? I mean, they have the 21st century here for theory. In 2023, the BBC launched an appeal to museums to track down the victims' remains with the intent of carrying out DNA analysis. The remains had until the late 1960s, 1970s been in the Birmingham City Police Black Museum at their Tally-Ho training centre. No way. Tally-Ho. Ye fucking... Oh, disgusting. The appeal had made in conjunction with the BBC podcast on the case, The Body in the Tree. So yeah, they're looking for the body at least. Yeah.
No, and when they initially looked at the body, they discovered taffeta had been shoved down the throat, so it was probably killed. But the thing was, she was either killed in the tree or put into the tree just after being killed. Like, so she would have still need to have like still be warm, and for rigor mortis not to set in before she was put into the tree.
In 1945, Margaret Murray, an anthropologist and archaeologist at University College London, proposed the more radical theory of witchcraft. Because she believed that the severing of one hand was consistent with a ritual called the Hand of Glory.
I will say one hand was found close to the body.
The Hand of Glory we would know from our series on Samurai, because it was used in fucking the Wicker Man.
And Talk to Me.
Huh?
And Talk more recently. Isn't that the Hand of Glory kind of a thing and Talk to Me?
I don't think so.
No?
No, that was obviously a haunted hand. But the Hand of Glory, I think, is this old school pagan thing. It's some ritual with the hand. Your middle finger is like lit up like a candle.
Oh, that's different to what I thought it was.
Yeah, it melts. It's some kind of curse. Because it's supposed to keep you in a deep sleep. The Hand of Glory is lit next to the body, and it's supposed to keep the person next to it in a deep sleep.
Oh, yeah.
They were trying to keep Sergeant Howie asleep, but obviously it didn't work. And Sergeant Howie saw it, woke up, and got freaked out by it. But yeah, that's what the Hand of Glory is. So that's what she thought it was. Her ideas excited the local press and led investigators to consider another seemingly ritualistic killing of a man named Charles Walton in nearby Lower Quinton. Who's Charles Walton? Charles Walton was an Englishman who was found murdered on the evening of the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, 1945. Valentine's Day, at the First Farm on the slopes of Moen Hill, Lower Quinton in Warwickshire, England. The foremost police detective of the era, Chief Inspector Robert Fabian, led the investigation into Walton's death. The chief suspect in the murder was the manager of the Firs, Alfred John Porter, for whom Walton was working on the day he died. However, there was insufficient evidence to convict Porter, and the case is currently the oldest unsolved murder in the Warwickshire constabulary records. The case has earned some notoriety in popular culture due to its supposed connection to the local belief in witchcraft. So where do they say about the witchcraft? Let's just go straight to the witchcraft.
Do you want to know how he was murdered?
Go on and let us know while I find the
murderer had beaten Walton over the head with his own stick, had cut his neck open with a slash hook and driven the prongs of the pitchfork into either sides of his neck, pinning him to the ground. The handle of the pitchfork had then been wedged under a cross member of the hedge, and the slash hook had been buried in his neck.
Definitely overkill.
Feels like something that we watched in a
Violent Nature.
Violent Nature, yeah. Fucking hell.
Yeah, violent. It claims of witchcraft. The two reports that Fabian wrote in the case of 1945, which are preserved on the police file, make no mention of witchcraft, ritualistic killings, black dogs, natterjack toads, or blood sacrifice. They're natterjack toads known as witchcraft things. They used to be all over the Maheries when we were kids.
Toads, yeah.
No, natterjacks.
Natterjacks, yeah.
There's literally a bar out there called Ned Natterjacks.
Nah.
Great food. I think it's closed now. However, 25 years later, he wrote the following. I advise anybody who is tempted at any time to venture into black magic, witchcraft, shamanism, call it what you will, to remember Charles Walton and to think of his death, which was clearly the ghastly climax of a pagan rite. There is no stronger argument for keeping as far away as possible from the villains with their swords, incense, and mumbo-jumbo. It is prudence on which your future peace of mind and even your life could depend. So this guy believed it. Amongst the theories and rumours that surrounded the case in subsequent years are the following. It was claimed that locals believed that Walton was a witch whose powers were feared by some villagers. It was claimed he would cast the evil eye and kept natterjack toads as pets. So did we as kids, and used them to blast the crops and livestock of local farmers. Two examples cited were the failure of the 1945-44 harvest and the death of Potter's heifer on the 13th of February. I wonder, was this story in any way an influence for the Wicker Man? It was claimed that his alleged witchcraft led him to be murdered in a ritualistic manner, which involved the blood soaking into the ground and replenishing the soil's fertility. Local folklore held that phantom black dogs roamed the area and were harbingers of death. It was claimed that soon after Walton's murder, a black dog was found hanging from a tree close to the murder scene. Fabian wrote that he encountered a black dog while walking at dusk in Moon Hill. The story he related was the dog ran past him, and shortly afterwards he met a local boy walking in the same direction. He asked the boy if he was looking for his dog, but when Fabian mentioned the animal's colour, the boy turned a deathly pale and fled in the opposite direction. Fucking interesting story. We're going to have to look more into this fucking Charles Walton guy. But, yeah, and it would have been around the same time, sort of saying, like, we could have had a pagan thing going on. I definitely think these two stories could have led to the inspiration to Wicker Man, because especially the Walton one, that seemed very, very close.
It does.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And then you have the Hand of Glory in this side. It just sounds like these cases might have been heard and adapted. Not adapted, because obviously the stories are nothing like the Wicker Man. It's an original story, but the ideas of where all this this Celtic paganism came from. But unfortunately, we will never know. And just like that, Amy also decided to pick a second story this week that we couldn't find the answer to. So we're literally being left with True Crime Blue Balls this week by Amy Rose. And that is the death of Elisa Lam. Yes. Do you want to get into this one a little bit?
So, Elisa Lam, everybody knows, well, I'm pretty sure most people know Elisa Lam.
A lot of people have seen the video.
Yeah. So she was recovered from a large cistern on the top of a Stay on Main hotel in downtown Los Angeles, where she was a guest, and she was last seen alive on January 31st and was reported missing by her parents on February the 8th. Her body,
and that was the Cecil Hotel, right?
That was, exactly, okay. Yeah. And her body was discovered by a hotel maintenance worker after her guests were complaining, like low pressure and
the black sludge was fucked up.
No, yuck.
Yeah, one couple said that they had like black sludge coming through the water first, and then the water would clear up, but taste funny, which is cannibalistic water. That is absolutely mental. Yeah. But they thought, right, but California must be so bad, man, because they thought that was just normal. For the first while, it was like, oh, maybe the water just shit here.
Run off
Let the contaminated shit through first, and then once it goes clear, we can drink it.
Fucking disgusting.
But this is fucked up, because you see, like again, there's no real story here outside the fact that this is absolutely batshit. Mm-hmm. Because you see the video of her getting into the lift.
Yeah.
She's pressing all the buttons. Then she's getting out, and she's clearly talking to somebody. What you can't see, it's kind of a blind spot in the camera, so you can't really see. And then she gets back into the lift, and at some point it appears like she's talking to someone in the lift. Yeah. There's lots of conspiracy theories, like the video's been tampered with to take somebody out of the video.
There are parts where it jumps, isn't there, in time?
Well, that's what they're claiming. Yeah. Other claims are because it is the Cecil Hotel or Cecil Hotel. I don't know what way the Americans pronounce it. But it's that it's the ghosts of some of the former. She did have schizophrenia though at the same time, didn't she? Yeah. Was she paranoid schizophrenic? Yeah. But her sister did say also that when she did have these episodes, that she would suffer from paranoia that there was somebody following her. Yeah, so because they said there was no narcotics in her. There was there was no illegal drugs in her. There was no alcohol really in her. There was
barely even any legal drugs in her. Yeah, so their theory is she was coming off the drugs. It's her own prescribed medication.
But it's how did she get up there? How did she get into the fucking cistern? How she,
exactly.
How did she find herself in that position? Is kind of the big question here. And did somebody have a hand in helping out, like the ghost of Richard Ramirez? Because he was there. I have a list of other deaths from the Cecil Hotel if you want to hear them, because apparently this place is famous for murders, suicides, and various other fucking stuff, overdoses. So we have, earliest one is 1931, W.K. Norton, possible suicide. Manhattan Beach resident W.K. Norton was found dead in his room after ingesting poison capsules. A week prior, he had checked into the Cecil Hotel under the name James Willies from Chicago. 1932, Benjamin Dodich, 25, suicide, gunshot to the head. 1934, Sergeant Louis D. Borden, holy shit, 53 years of age, suicide, slit throat.
No.
That's some way to kill yourself. In late July, former Army Medical Corps Sergeant Borden was found dead in his room with the Cecil. He had slashed his throat with a razor. Borden left several notes, one of which cited poor health as a reason for his suicide. March 1937, Gracie Margot, death, fell from building. Margot fell from the 9th-story window. Her fall was broken by telephone wires, which were wrapped around her body. She later died at the now-demolished Georgia Street Receiving Hospital. Holy shit, they nearly caught her. They don't know if it was an accident or suicide.
Okay.
1939, Erwin C. Nebleth, possible suicide. Ingested poison.
Okay.
January 1940, Dorothy Seeger, suicide, ingested poison. They love poison in the Cecil, huh? Fucking hell.
Was it the chef?
Huh?
Was it the chef?
Maybe. She was a teacher who registered under the pseudonym Evelyn Brent, ingested poison on the 10th of January 1940 while staying at the Cecil and was reported by the Los Angeles Times to be near death. Beforehand, Seeger sent her relatives a note indicating she was going to end her life. Dorothy eventually succumbed to the effects of the poison and died in the General Hospital on the January 12th. This is not a nice one. September 1944, Dorothy Jean Purcell. Purcell's unnamed and her unnamed newborn son. Oh. She was 19, he was newborn. Murder, acquitted due to insanity. Hold on, did she get... Oh yeah, she killed the kid.
Oh.
The 19-year-old killed her newborn but got off. So Purcell was sharing a room with Cecil with her boyfriend, shoe salesman Ben Levine, 38. Bit of a gap.
Yep.
Purcell, who had apparently been unaware that she was pregnant, went into labour. She later testified that she did not want to disrupt the sleeping of Levine. Holy shit!
God.
What kind of power did this guy have over her? So she went into the bathroom where she gave birth to a baby boy. Thinking the baby was dead, she threw him out the window. And he landed on the roof of an adjacent... I'm sorry for laughing at that. That's how I shouldn't have laughed at that. Building. Purcell was charged with murder. I just kind of pictured more of a trauma-style baby flying across the fucking... I was picturing the baby from Dead Alive.
Yeah, no, I get you.
But 3 psychiatrists testified that she was mentally confused at the time of the incident. In January 1945, she was found not guilty by reason of insanity. She must have felt shit for the rest of her life, so I think that's probably punishment enough.
Especially German law.
That doesn't sound like she was in a very good situation as it is. You're living in the Cecil Hotel with your 38-year-old shoe salesman boyfriend. Yeah. And you're 19.
In German law, there's a thing that says that, especially in the cases of like where parents kill their kids and there's remorse, that's punishment enough to live without your children, so there's no sentence.
November 1947, Robert Smith, suicide. Smith died after jumping from one of the Cecil's 7th floor windows. Jesus Christ, like this place, if I was managing this hotel, I'd make these people take a fucking a mental examination on the way in. You got to talk to a resident psychiatrist before you can book a room.
I wouldn't fucking stay there, let alone manage the place.
Would you not stay there now? Oh, come on.
Not in rooms where there had been suicide.
Oh, I would, with fucking all the gadgets and gizmos and do a whole fucking investigation. October 22nd, 1954, Helen Gurney, suicide, fell from building. Amy, to be fair, there can't be that many rooms in this place. There has to have been a suicide per room at this point.
There is an amount of rooms. There are
February
700 rooms.
We're only at 1962. Julia Frances Moore, suicide, fell from building. October 1962, Pauline Otten George Janine, suicide, fell from building. The 2 people, George and Pauline, 27 and 65, so they went together. Otten jumped from the window of her 9th floor room after an argument with her estranged husband Dewey. No, this is completely separate. He had left the room prior to Otten's suicide. Otten landed on a pedestrian, Johnny killing them both instantly. So she landed him. He didn't commit suicide. He was fucking splattered.
Ew.
June 4, 1964, Jackie B. Ellinger, 29, was accused of killing Pigeon Goldie Osgood, 65. A hotel worker discovered Osgood, a retired telephone operator, dead in her room. She had been raped, stabbed, and beaten, and her room was ransacked. Osgood was well known around the area and had earned her nickname because she fed birds in nearby Pershing Square. Near her body was a Los Angeles Dodgers cap. She always wore and a paper sack full of birdseed. Hours after her murder, Ellinger was seen walking through Pershing Square in bloodstained clothes. He was arrested and charged with Osgood's murder, but was later cleared of the crime. Her murder remains unsolved. Are you fucking serious? Mental. And your one was like 65, he was 29.
Jesus.
Fucking. So he basically just took the crazy pigeon lady.
Yep.
And fucking killed her.
Yep.
And got away with it somehow. 1975, Alison Lowell, and that's in quotation marks, so that's obviously a still unidentified woman fell from building. They just need to put gates up around the fucking thing. Or block, fence off, yeah, they give her up the fucking thing. Yeah, 1992. They had a nice gap from 1975 to 1992 though.
Oh, good.
Then there was a death, guess what? Fell from building.
Pushed?
Body of an African-American man was found in the alley behind the Cecil. Police said he had either fallen, jumped, or been pushed from the hotel. Good guesses, guys. The 20 to 30-year-old male has never been identified.
He hardly walked.
Fucking hell. 1 minute he was up there, and then bam, he just turned up down here.
Clear case of teleportation.
Definitely. February 19, 2013. So they had another good gap from 92 to 2013, and then it was Elisa Lam, which we accidental drowning, that's known as. And the last one was June 13, 2015. Unknown person again. Oh. Death suspected to have fallen from the building. For fuck's sake. The body of a 28-year-old man was found outside the hotel. Some conjecture he may have committed suicide by jumping from the hotel, although a spokesperson for the county coroner informed the Los Angeles Times that the cause of death was not been determined. The man remains unidentified. If he's unidentified, it's probably because he got mashed up jumping from the fucking building. Stop letting people up on the roof.
Could be pushed. But I thought they had ways, as in like, to just go up and get like one of those like crash test dummies and keep throwing it off the building and letting it fall off the building and like pushing it this way and that way until they realise, okay, so that's...
Did they figure out? Oh, they'd know the trauma on a body. That's, I don't know.
No, it's the positioning. It's the positioning.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... 9 definite suicides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deaths. See, only seems to be one real murder here. Well, they obviously some suspected pushings. I always thought it was known for way more murders. Obviously, it's known because serial killer Richard Ramirez lived there for a while.
Oh, yeah. And John Unterwenger. Unterwenger?
Oh, yeah. That's the guy. He's an interesting story. Mm-hmm. No, I won't get too frantic because we still have Chickatilo to get into, and he's a big enough fucking bastard of a story to deal with.
I have this guy on the list, don't worry.
But I've heard him on last podcast. That's amazing. Like, he convinced the entire German fucking people that he was basically reformed, got out, and just took back up serial killing again as a celebrity.
Yep.
And killed a few people while he was over here in the Cecil, as far as I know, didn't he?
I think so.
That was one of the ways they fucking ended up catching him out, was because they was like, well, you were fucking here when these 3 people fucking went.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a paper trail, effectively.
But mental story. I can't wait to get into that. Mm-hmm. Along with Richie Ramirez again at some point. But I'm right in saying Janis Joplin stayed here for a while as well, didn't she?
Yes, I'm pretty sure she did. Let me double check that. But I remember seeing that as well. Yep, everybody who's anybody apparently stayed here.
In the Cecil? This is like Skid Row. Like, it's supposed to be like the dirtiest, shittiest place in...
It wasn't always. It was old
obviously
Hollywood.
Where everyone came to kill themselves since 1930s.
Yeah, but it was seen as glitzy and like old Hollywood era.
Oh, yeah. Do you think that would you have liked to have been in old Hollywood, or do you think you would have absolutely fucking despised everybody?
I think I'd have hated all men.
It would have been terrible for you, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't have liked it there. No. And then I'm the kind of person as well that can't handle people who talk all phoney and fake, so I would have absolutely lost my fucking mind.
Would we have all had like that Atlantic American accent?
I'd been blacklisted instantly. Never use me. Another person who should be blacklisted, and we go from Russian nightmares to fucking... We start with Russian nightmares and we finish with a Russian monster, and that is Andrei Chickatilo.
Yikes.
I was saying yesterday how crazy it was that the first Chickatilo... Where is it again? Oh, we won't bother with it.
What?
Chickatilo, remember? But every time I hear Chickatilo, that's all I can hear.
Uh-huh.
Chickatilo, the Red Ripper. He sounds like a fucking wrestler the way the names they give him. The Butcher of Rostov, the Rostov Ripper, the Red Ripper.
I think the Red
sexually
Ripper
assaulted,
sounds like
murdered,
a
and
fish you had for
mutilated
breakfast.
at least 52 women and children between the years of 1978 and 1990 from the Russian SFSR and the Ukraine SSR. Andrei Chickatilo. He looks really different than all his pictures, and it creeps me out.
He does.
Do you know?
Like Ted Bundy.
That's it. But he is clearly someone you'd want to stay away from. Though his Wikipedia page, his picture looks like not the he's the guy. He's the teacher in the school that wanted to be the principal, but never got to be the principal because he's a dick.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like Snape with no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Snape was better looking than him.
Well, I said with no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
No redeeming qualities. Nothing good about him.
No.
Okay, there's no point in us getting right into every last bit of detail because I fucking hit the Mini Monsters record this week with the longest episode to date and did a whole hour on this bastard, where I went through his whole Wikipedia page and mispronounced every Russian name under the sun. Sorry, Russia, if you can still hear us. Are they allowed to listen to our internet these days?
I would think so.
Didn't they get cut off for going into Ukraine? Didn't they get cut off from all the major stuff?
I don't know. If
do they get
Russian
Spotify?
Listening to us, let us know.
Do you get Spotify anymore? Do you get Apple? I know Apple were pulling out, didn't they? They're bound to be one of the podcasts, and I think it's still pushing over there. Check our demographics. Check how we're doing in Russia.
Serbian listeners.
Well, the Russians would know of, but not be proud of, this man, Andrei Chickatilo, who was born in a village I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce on October 16th, 1936. So, what are they saying here? That's the most fucked up early childhood I have ever heard. Did you hear what his parents told him?
What?
About his brother.
Oh, yeah.
That they don't know if this is true or not. But he was told by his mother from an early age that that he had an older brother, but before he was born, the older brother was taken off by the neighbours and eaten for cannibalized because they were all starving. And this is something he was told constantly as a child.
Holy shit! Was it just keep in line?
That's what I'm thinking, which is absolutely fucked up. Then his dad was conscripted into the army, captured by the Germans, and in pure Russian attitude was seen as a traitor for being captured by the Germans. They basically accused him of being lazy and getting himself caught to be put into a war camp so that he didn't have to fight the war. That was their mentality for POWs.
Huh. So you were treated with bad, like.
Oh yeah, if you were captured as a Russian soldier, basically. You're as good as a deserter. You're a fucking traitor. You're pathetic. You're not a man.
Is that how the Japanese would have seen it?
Maybe, because those bastards just ran right in.
Kept going.
If it was them on a tank, they were going to keep running at the tank. You know? Just picture some little ninja Chinese, Japanese guy fucking just throwing kicks at the side of a tank. But, yeah, so that kind of gave his family a bit of a stink on their name. So that didn't fucking help. Didn't help that he was a big old weirdo as well from a young age. At 18, he applied to Moscow University to study law. He failed the entrance exam, but blamed the rejection on his father's humiliating war record. How does your father's record have anything to do with your intelligence, you fucking idiot?
Because maybe he thought that he had passed the exams, like delusional that way. Oh, I passed my exams, but my dad's terrible.
Isn't it mental, though? How many of these fellas go for law? In some way, shape, or form. They rather want to be a cop. They want to be a lawyer. They want to be some form of... I mean, like even BTK did criminology as far as I know in college. Kemper wanted to be a cop, but he was too big and dumb.
Is it a power thing?
Bundy wanted to be a solicitor.
Oh.
Fucking Golden State Killer was a cop. Fucking BTK was eventually satisfied with being a fucking dog warden and one of these guys who went around the neighborhood telling you you needed to paint your house.
Yeah.
Imagine that prick handing out fines, yeah. I would fucking just want to drill him one right in the fucking jaw.
First tried to give me a fine over my fucking grass in the first place, Josh. I couldn't do it over there.
Hey. Anyway, this fucking idiot ends up becoming a teacher himself. But at first, they say like he's first. The major problem here for this guy was, I don't know how you fix this. From a really early age, he couldn't keep an erection with a woman. He couldn't have normal sex. Like, from day one.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't do it, like. I mean, I watched the movie Citizen X, right? And the only real scene that I was writing at the same time, so I was only kind of looking up and down to it. And the one scene I did see, he has this woman in the woods, and he's like on top of her, and they're kind of, she's laughing, and he's like, I'm sorry, and obviously he just can't stay hard, like. And the next thing he pulls out the knife and stabs her in the stomach, and she starts screaming for a different reason. But
that's why that's obviously he gets hurt then.
But that's it. I mean, apparently, like, he ejaculates as soon as there is blood involved, like. And he just, and this is what kept him going. Like, this is why he did it. Like, to the point where, like, he has kids, doesn't he? As far as I know, like, it was so bad that he had to, like...
Yeah. I know what you're about to say, yeah.
He would ejaculate in his hand and then push it into his missus with his fingers.
Yeah.
And that's how they conceived their children.
Turkey baster.
Well, he used his fingers, apparently.
Well, yeah, same kind of.
But, and managed to conceive 2 children that way, as far as I know. Definitely one.
1965, and then again in 1969, a daughter and a son.
And I found it really weird. Again, I'm not getting into all the details, because if you want all the details, listen to Mini Monsters, but the amount of times women who had the same name as his sister showed up as potential victims. There was one victim who had the same name as his sister, which is a weird name, so that's why it popped up. It's Tatiana.
That's a nice name.
Tatiana, yeah. I think that's the same name as the girl that played Aisling in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Tatiana Ali, as far as I know, so really.
Very good.
Yeah, do you know, I remember hearing the story the first time, and the one that disturbed me the most, the one that really fucking sticks in my mind, out of all of them, because like I said, I'm not going to get into every single fucking one of them nitty gritty, but was the one where he took the kid and the wife, or the kid and the mother, down, and it was kind of in the pretext of it being a picnic.
Yeah.
And then he told, like, you know, the little girl to go play down there or whatever, and him and the mother start fooling around. He can't get hard. He ends up killing the mother and then goes down and kills the child. Yeah. And he was known for killing just as much kids as he was women, like, you know. And all under the same style. He'd usually wait around at bus stations or train stations and pick women up there, and in most cases, from what it sounds like from one or two of the survivors, they're literally dragged off into the woods, like, you know. I think they're just walking along with him, and next thing he grabs you and pulls you. Once he sees a chance, like, once he sees a bit of brush, he's grabbing you and you're going in, like, you know. And that's the last you're seen until your corpse shows up. But at the same time, I mean, in every scenario, a pattern's going to show up, and that pattern was really fucking obvious. And you know, it took him long enough. This guy was going, what did I say, from 1978 to 1990, so he went for 12 years, like, you know, of doing this before they finally clicked. And what they did then was they flooded all the big train stations with uniformed police. Every train station was flooded with uniformed police, bar 3 or 4 smaller stations where they knew he was operating. Yeah. And in those 3 or 4 smaller stations, they put no uniformed cops and put undercovers there. So when he went to the other stations, he was forced out of there because there was so many uniforms, he couldn't deal with it. And then he finds these safe havens in his eyes, and that's where he gets to fucking go, you know, and take an attack. And what's fucked up, right, is when they were doing this is how he gets caught, right? When he was doing this, he was at one of these supposed plainclothes areas for the cops, and he managed to grab a girl and take her off into the woods and kill her. And fucking, he was walking back out of the woods, had mud on his knees, had a little bit of fucking blood on him, and one of these cops turned around and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I just went for a walk in the woods, I fell over." And he was like, "Can I see your papers?" Showed him his papers. He was like, "Oh, his name was Andrei Chickatilo. I left him go on because there was nothing else suspicious about it."
There's mud on his
And then they find the body inside in the fucking woods, and it's like, oh, yeah, especially when they're looking for someone specifically in that fucking area.
Police work.
But the upside was that one of the head inspectors who had come to see the bodies. I will inspect the head, you can have the rest of the body. But, one of the top inspectors on the case came in, and he had recognized Chickatilo's name because they had interviewed him before, and they had found him suspicious and strange. So him coming up a second time in this scenario was like, well, no, even enough to bring him in. Yeah. And they brought him in and they questioned him. I don't know how did he go with the question? Did he admit it straight away, or did it take a while to confession? In 1920, or sorry, not 1929, on November 29th, at the request of Burakov and Fetisov, Dr. Burhan, see, here I am again, Bukhanovsky, I can remember him now, was invited to assist in the questioning of the suspect. Bukhanovsky read extracts of his 65-page psychological profile on Chickatilo. Within 2 hours, Chickatilo burst into tears and confessed to Bukhanovsky that he was indeed guilty of the crimes of which he had been arrested. After conversing into the evening, Bukhanovsky reported to Burakov and Fedosov that Chickatilo was ready to confess. Now, as far as I know, he did go back on all this eventually, didn't he? And say that it was he was forced to testify, but I think this stuff was enough to
put him under.
Yeah. And he was sentenced to death, wasn't it? 52 counts of murder in addition to 5 charges of sexual assault against minors committed when he had been a teacher. He was tried at courtroom number 5 of the Rostov Principal Court by Judge Leonid Akhbuhanov. First major trial for the media event of post-Soviet Russia. But he was found guilty, and when they find you guilty and it is the death sentence, there is no fucking about.
Oh.
I think you get a chance to appeal. It's not like in Japan where you're just taken out back straight away and shot. You probably get a chance to appeal, but their death sentences, you're brought into a room and there is a gun put to the back of your ear and done. And that's what will happen to Chickatilo in the end. The movie was good. I was watching that, and at the end, it was one of the first post-credit scenes maybe I'd seen, or maybe it was just before the credits. But it had that where Chickatilo had been walked on into the room, and then your man puts the gun to his ear, and he was like, "Stay looking forward, don't look at me." And then Chickatilo kind of closed his eyes as if he's afraid, and then
okay.
And fuck that bastard.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, like, the reason I don't want to get into it all again is I did that episode for a reason, because Amy didn't want to hear all the gory details of this nasty, nasty motherfucker.
What I have heard is already fucking disgusting.
So you can go listen to it in Mini Monsters and then come here and hear us talk about it a little bit more. Not that there's a whole lot more to say about this fella, just that he is one of the most disgusting. I mean, what's the numbers in the 50s? He had to be in 12 years.
He was 52 murders and 5 counts of sexual assault that he'd been found guilty for.
Right, in 12 years, how many is that a year?
In 12 years, in around 4 years.
So once a quarter, once a season, this guy was murdering somebody for 12 years.
That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
That's absolutely, like, he literally winter, summer, autumn, and winter, and fucking spring. This guy was taking one each fucking spring. Well, no, I don't think it was to that freak. I think there was bouts of them and then stopped.
Yeah, kind of sporadic.
Yeah. Andrei Chickatilo.
I like ending on a happy note.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can be happy he's dead.
Exactly, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Do to the rest of them. Well, no, that's not true. I don't believe in death sentence. He deserved a death sentence. That's different. Yeah. I don't know. See, this is where it's so fucking hard. You read about people who deserve it, genuinely deserve it, but it's just too much of
that one person, like innocent person.
And then there is the other argument of, can you not just put him in jail and make life absolutely miserable for him?
Yeah, there is no need to pump in as much taxpayers' money to the keeping of these people. That is fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're a serial killer, you don't need a TV, you don't need an internet. You're lucky that you have 4 walls and 3 square meals a day. That's it.
Should be Tower London style.
Oh yeah. It should be make it as terrible as possible for him. Yeah. You get to survive, but it's not nice.
No.
Instead of just fucking killing them off fucking thing, at least then if new evidence pops up.
Because of the fucking human rights that you have to have, like, your fresh water and, like,
and on top of everything else, right, do they not see it as more of a learning opportunity? If they're alive, you can ask them questions. Even if they're not willing to answer them now, they might be willing to answer them in 10 years of fucking solitude and not getting to talk to anybody. And then suddenly you're like, oh shit, man, I need to talk to somebody. Yes, I will tell you. I'll answer whatever question you want. I'll show you where the bodies are. Give them those little luxuries for doing stuff.
They're trying to get rid of solitary confinement as well, which is fair enough for the normal fucking person. But when it comes to a serial killer like this, there should be, I mean...
Yeah. You've lost your opportunity to be around people.
Yeah, exactly.
You're an animal now. You will be locked in a cage, and we will send scientists and doctors and students down to gawk at you and see what the fuck is up with your fucked up brain.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we're going to do with you.
Exactly.
And that's what will happen when I finally take power. That and a force field of exploding fucking fish. See you next week.